It's good. I have a friendly audience.
For sure.
Okay.
All right. It's all yours and we're rolling, Tina.
Okay,
So.
sounds good. I want to welcome everybody to our second discussion on resources for recovery for the bar and restaurant industry, preparing to reopen as the states slowly start to get back to normal, or at least they feel like they're getting back to normal. It's time to start talking about what we need to do if you're a bar owner or a restaurant owner, and where we go from here. Okay, so does everybody see the PowerPoint?
You're great, Tina.
Okay, we're good. All right, great. My name is Tina Fischer, and I am an attorney and founding member of Fletcher Fischer Pollack, which is a law firm in downtown St. Petersburg. We do primarily commercial real estate. We now do sustainability. We do environmental law, and we practice business law here in the state of Florida. I'm also co-founding partner of Rising Tide Innovation Center, which is a co-work space in St. Petersburg built to serve small businesses like myself and my partners who need to grow their businesses and the economy. So that's me. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping before we start. If you have any questions, you can certainly use the chat to put those in there. And if I have a problem with my internet, it's something getting funky or any issues with the presentation, please let me know and we'll get that fixed. I have Jen Shaw, who is our Director of Community here at Rising Tide, online with us, and she'll be helping with any issues that we might have. And I think we also have a few other people from Rising Tide that are here, and thank you very much. Okay, so as an update, it appears that the House and the Senate have come to an agreement on the newest $483 billion package, starting with the payroll protection program, which is where the vast majority of the funds are going to be going. They're going to put $310 billion for replenishing the PPP, which dried up last week shortly after it was actually opened. In addition to that, we've got $60 billion going to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program for communities and small businesses. Another $75 billion is going to hospitals, and $25 billion is going to expanding testing, virus testing throughout the country. There's also apparently $10 billion in grants of up to $10,000 each that the disaster loan recipients can obtain as well, and $2.1 billion going for the administration of that particular program. And according to what we've heard, it's scheduled to go before, it was approved by the Senate yesterday, and it's scheduled to go before the House tomorrow on Thursday. And the president has already indicated that he's going to sign that bill. So what should you do in terms of seeking funds at this point? If you've already filed and you haven't heard anything, you really need to call your lender and check to see where you are in the process. You need to find out if you have to resubmit an entire application, or if the application you have already submitted is sufficient to get you into line for the new funds that are coming down. There have been problems with applications not being submitted properly, some applications not being submitted at all. So you really need to confirm with your lender where you are with this process if you were looking for it. And if you haven't already filed them, you need to get it done as soon as possible. It's been said that they believe this time that the funds will be depleted in probably 2 to 3 days after the program opens again. So again, get out there and get your applications done. So again, why are we here? Well, where do we go from here? It looks like states are starting to reopen. I think Georgia and South Carolina and Mississippi, I believe, are looking at a May 1st date at this point. And our governor has indicated that they're shooting for phase 1 of reopening to start sometime around May 15th if everything is still looking good, which could mean that as a restaurant owner, you could be ready to reopen sometime around May 15th. However, you have to keep in mind that if the state is following the CDC guidelines, bars will not be included in the first phase of recovery, so bars will have to wait until phase 2. So at this point, if you're a restaurant owner in particular, you need to be making sure that your customers know that you're still hanging in there and that when the time comes, you'll be ready to be open. So even if your restaurant is currently in the worst case scenario, and you're completely shut down due to coronavirus, well, if your restaurant is in that situation, you really need to keep on top of your guests and make sure that you're in their minds. It's crucial to win back their business and make sure that they come back into your restaurant when everything is open again. If you don't communicate with them, they're basically going to say, their thoughts are going to be, what, you're not opening again. So, they are not going to have you in mind when it's time for them to go out for dinner again. So you need to do something to keep you in the top of their minds. I've seen a lot of restaurants doing some kind of light entertaining content, a YouTube video, posting on Facebook or Instagram, having their bartenders out there mixing drinks and giving instruction on that. Other things is I've seen them teaching knife skills to the people that they're trying to reach, giving them basic recipes and doing a cooking lesson with them. And then even, you could even let them know what the new recipes are that are coming up and perhaps do a short preparation of that. But again, the important thing is that at this point, you really need to make sure that your customers know you're still here and that you're going to be ready. Also, social media is really important at this time. So if you haven't already started using social media, you really need to get in there and start getting used to doing that. If you've pivoted to a takeout and delivery only method, then you're probably already on social media at this point, making sure that everybody knows that you're doing that, but things are changing really fast. So you need to remind and update your customers daily on your menu, your ordering options, if you're doing any specials or what your social distancing procedures are or going to be when you reopen again, and whatever else is going on in your business so that, again, you're in the top of their mind. Keep your website content up to date, and if you have a CRM program, you really need to continue to communicate with your customers using that program. So again, for social media management and marketing platforms, you can turn to a couple of different things. There's really a number of products out there to consider. There's Hootsuite, which I think a lot of people use. Buffer, something called Sprout Social is there. And Podium is also a newer one. I think that you could also reach out and see what they've got. They're basically an online software program that allows you to interact with your customers more directly. It gives you messaging from your customers, and they can provide ratings and reviews. So it could really improve your online reputation. It was apparently offering services for free recently, so I went on their site today and that link is down. My understanding is that there should have been a wait list. There may be still, but I wasn't able to get to it today, so definitely check that out when the time comes. Let's see. So I said this last week in my webinar for Unlacing that we gave through Rising Tide, and I'm going to say it again this week. If you've not read your lease in full, or if you haven't read it in quite a while, you need to do it now. If you anticipate, or if you've already had a hard time making your rent payments, there are a number of questions that you really need to answer. For instance, how long is the term left on your lease? And if your lease is about to end, you need to think about whether or not you want to stay in the space that you're in, or if you're ready to move on to a new space. find out, think about how many years you have left. Consider whether or not you gave a personal guarantee or a corporate guarantee, and look at the lease to find out if that guarantee has a provision where it reduces it as the years go on. You need to know what happens if you are in default of your lease, and how you're going to be impacted financially. You need to, if you are in this position, it's really a good idea to talk to your landlord about reducing your rent. There are a number of ways that you can work this out. You can ask for rent forgiveness. Sometimes landlords will take the month that you can't, that you're having a problem making, and they'll tack it on to the end. You could certainly ask for that type of a deferral, or even just making partial payments. If you're a business that's located in a multi-tenant property, you might have a basis for renegotiating your rent. And so that's something that you can definitely look at. Keep in mind, though, during this process that everyone is asking basically for the same thing. So every time your landlord gives a concession to one of its tenants, it's limiting their cash flow and puts them one step closer to being in a bad position as well. You just need to, be considerate and understanding of their situation as well. They generally have loans that they have to pay, and requirements in their mortgages that are limit their ability to give you some of the concessions that you need. And again, if you've signed a personal guarantee, definitely read that and know your potential liabilities. These are all they're very difficult things to deal with at this point, and they're definitely detailed, and there's a lot of legalese in these leases that you're going to be reading. So if you need help, don't hesitate to ask. You can certainly call Fletcher Fischer Pollack. We specialize in commercial leasing, or any attorney that you know that actually has experience will be better than not taking the advice and making sure that you understand everything that you're reading in your lease. You can evaluate where you are, and if you're in a position, you might actually even be able to renegotiate your guarantees. So again, consider getting help from an attorney experienced in commercial leasing to get through this. So, planning to reopen. It goes without saying, I think, that when this is all over, and over is a relative term, that things won't immediately go back to the way they were. So I think, most customers and guests are still going to be wary of getting too close to strangers. And as a business owner, it's going to be important for you to make sure that everyone feels comfortable coming to your restaurant or your bar when the bars are allowed to reopen again. And it's going to include maintaining a strict cleaning regime, maintaining social distancing protocols, and then making sure that all of your customers know this. It's going to be a challenge to get them back out there. Economically, there's going to be challenges. People their incomes have been reduced. They're adapting to cooking at home. So I think that, as we move forward, that is also going to affect how they're going out and spending their money on entertainment and in restaurants and bars. So you can expect that your customers are going to be looking for some cheaper options without a doubt. And again, as I said, there's going to be pretty high scrutiny for how clean your restaurant is and what your health standards are. And you're going to need to adjust how you operate to take that into consideration. So as I said before, we're going to plan it. You got to plan ahead at this point. You need to start talking to your landlord and see what relief may be available for you there. You also need to start talking to your food vendors. Perhaps you can negotiate with them to get a little bit better pricing, lower purchase minimums if you have some purchase requirements, and just see if they'll work with you, and understand that they're probably in the same boat as you are. They're trying to adapt to this new normal, and they're getting it from all sides, from every one of their customers. So definitely see if you can reach out to talk to them. Talk to your utility providers if you're behind on your electric payment or your water payment. Give them a call, see what they can do to work with you on that. As a practice, it may be best to be conservative as you're going forward in terms of your income in the coming months. It might be the best thing to do to assume that you're really not going to have any money coming in until June, even if you do open on May 15th. So you need to consider who are you going to be paying to get you up to speed at this point. Are you going to need you and your managers? Are you going to need more staff people to get in there to get everything ready to go? Will you need to continue making, if you have loan payments, are those going to continue to be paid through this time? And if so, you got to factor that in. And again, do you have, in terms of your vendors, do you have back balances owed? If you have any outstanding vendors balances, you should definitely talk to them about getting a plan together so that you can figure out a way to get caught up, and still, if you're not caught up by the time it's time to open, you can still work something out so that you can get the supplies that you need. And again, once you have the number for your reopening expenses, you just need to go ahead and determine what you need to order. And again, we have to take into consideration that odds are that your business is not going to be exactly where it was before this started. They are predicting that there's going to be an immediate crush of customers when they first say go, but that is very likely to taper off, and then it'll have to, work its way back up a little bit at a time as we move forward. So so take that into consideration. Write a schedule of the costs that you're going to have for your first payroll, and any additional costs that relate to the new safety measures, which it could be significant. Will you need additional staff in order to meet CDC guidelines and your customers' expectations? So meet with banks and credit card companies, know what your borrowing limits are just in case, and if you need to negotiate new loan deals, definitely get with your lenders on that. You might be able to refinance, and I will tell you that I've been listening to some CDC webinars on guidance to lenders. They have been advising local SBA representatives to actually halt all non-essential borrowing, and also for existing borrowers, review their existing debt structure and consider short-term interest loans and forgivable loan options. And also use your local organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and our state's Restaurant Association to find out what other additional resources are out there for you, and what other people are doing in terms of setting up a structure for reopening throughout the state. Okay, so obviously we're going to need to bring back staff. We don't, and I'm sure most people don't at this point don't know if they're bringing back their entire staff, if they're bringing back half, if they're just bringing back a few to start. But what's important at this point is that you keep in contact with your employees. Make sure that they know that you are planning on reopening, that there is a job for them when they come back, and that you are concerned about their welfare. Make sure that if they need assistance with anything, if they need information, that you are the person or you are the source of that information if they call you. And you need to prepare for a new world in this as we move forward. Until there's a vaccine produced in mass quantities, the virus isn't going away, and the habits that we've established very quickly as a society they're going to stay with us. Social distancing is going to stay with us for quite a while. So at this point, when you prepare to reopen, you're going to need to look at your dining room and evaluate what you can do in order to maintain the acceptable distance between customers, so that your customers feel safe in your establishment. It's probably a good idea to put hand sanitizers out so that customers have easy access to them, and where they can see that your staff is also using them on a regular basis. And you need to, make sure that they get every indication and have the definite knowledge that you're doing whatever it is you can to make sure that everything's safe again. And in the industry, it's always been looked at as you've always looked at the ways that you could be more efficient and improve speed of service to maximize profit. But at this point, a byproduct of COVID-19 is more than likely going to mean softening that particular stance. More emphasis is going to need to be placed on safety, cleanliness, and the hygiene of your staff and your establishment. And that's probably going to come at the cost of, or at the expense of speed and efficiency. And the customers are going to need to see that. Some examples of how you might be able to do what you can to give some more confidence to your customers is, for instance, having cleaners readily available when your staff is handing a credit card machine or a credit card to a customer, and make sure that they see them cleaning the credit cards as they take the card and cleaning it as they give it back. Cleaning your POS terminals between transactions or when different employees are using them, and make sure that there's plenty of gloves so that your staff can change gloves regularly. And again, hand sanitizer everywhere. Sanitizing all of the trays in advance and every single time you use them, making sure they're sanitized, and perhaps even taking items like condiments, salt and pepper shakers off of the tables and providing those in some form of a container or something that you can assure that the customer that it's been sanitized. As you start going back into the new normal, service is going to be the key. Servers are going to need to focus on getting to know their customers again and establishing that sense of community, that sense of safety, and making sure that all of the customers that were there before will come back again and feel at home again. You're also going to need to have your servers help you with upselling and making sure that you maximize your profits by selling as much as possible. Stress the importance of the speed of the service as well. You want to churn the tables because obviously, as you know, if you need to maintain social distancing, it's going to mean you're going to need to take tables out of there. So again, turning customers as quickly as possible while still maintaining that level of service and customer satisfaction is really what's going to be key to the success of your establishment as we move forward. You might consider re-engineering your menu. As we said, and as everybody knows, having value is going to be very important to your customers when they come back. Find out what new items you can put on your menu that might increase profit margins and lower prices to your guests. And again, the value is going to be a key factor. Talk to your suppliers and find out what they've got going on. They've been under extreme pressure as they adjust to market changes and customer requirements, and they may or may not have the supplies that you wanted or that you previously got from them. So you need to determine what supplies are critical for you when you're ready to reopen. Find out what your suppliers are forecasting in terms of the needs of their other customers and what might be in short supply and what excesses they may have currently in their warehouse or what they expect they'll have when the time comes for you to open. You know, obviously try to lower prices where you can, but don't sacrifice your brand identity. Just try to do everything that you can to make sure that the customers come back in the door. Daily specials, all-inclusive meals are also a great way to attract guests if they have a great price point. Also, in terms of your supply chain, you need to consider again, if you know that your supplier is going to have some issues as we move forward and when all these restaurants start to open, you might try to look for a regional supplier to supplement. And obviously, don't forget your local small businesses here. There are plenty of places that are in our general vicinity that can then give you whatever you need to get your establishment up and running. And just be ready to embrace this new normal. We're going to need to figure out how customers react, and we're going to need to adjust to that and move forward. Also, consider eliminating any unnecessary costs. You need to do more with less. That would include reducing preparation times, perhaps outsourcing products that will increase your efficiencies and reduce your labor costs, and still give your customers the level of excellence that they have come to expect from your establishment. Again, as we said before, focus on your social media and your customer relations. PR is probably not the place to cut costs at this point. You need to get people interested again, and you need to increase your visibility. You have to stay in the minds of your customers. And again, like I said before, social media posts, demonstrations, those things seem to be working well for the customers, or excuse me, for the restaurants that are actually still open and delivering and doing takeout. And again, with delivery and takeout, while we are pivoting back into what our new normal is, if it's working for you, then you probably need to consider keeping it up. So definitely figure out how that will factor in to your establishment and to your business operations as you move forward and open the physical locations up again. I will say that I have seen recently some articles about the fact that wine sales are going through the roof. Apparently, there's a lot of a lot of restaurants are offering home delivery of wine as well. They're doing wine pairings with meals, and actually some are actually offering access to a sommelier online or on the phone to discuss wine pairing options. So again, like I said, that seems to be a really great way to supplement your income for the restaurant at this, as you move forward. So that's pretty much where we are right now. It's a whole new way of life that's coming at us, and if you plan today and get ready to address the issues and set yourself up for success, then you're going to roll out with success, and your customers are going to be there. Nobody could have realized that this was going to happen. And I don't think there's any preparation for it, really. So we're here. None of us are going to shut down. Going home is not an option. All we can do is try to make the next best decision. And I hope this information was helpful for you. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know. We can open it up for discussion right now. And I see no questions. So please look for upcoming pivoting webinars from Rising Tide and Fletcher Fischer Pollack, and stay safe.